and welcome to the panelists, who I'll give a couple of minutes, well, a minute looking at the timing, each to introduce yourselves, and then obviously there is 5 minutes for questions at the end. So, because in my opinion this is such an important subject, if you don't manage to get your question answered, please do grab any of us afterwards in the corridors and have this discussion. So, amazing group of panelists, all from different backgrounds, but discussing a similar topic. So on that, I'd love to give them all a chance to tell you a little bit about their journey and why they're here. So, Rafa, over to you.
Sure. Thank you for having me. My name is Rafael Oliveira. I work as Director of International Marketing and Brand Partnerships for a company called 8 Sleep. If you haven't heard about us yet, we're an American-based B2C health tech company. Our main product, which we call the Pod, is an accessory that goes on top of any bed or any mattress to help you sleep up to 30% better. And it does that through a two-way approach. First, it will collect all of the most important health metrics while you sleep, things like your HRV, your sleeping heart rate, your breath rate, as well as the sleep stages. And second, and most importantly, it will actually improve the quality of your sleep by dynamically changing the temperature of the surface of the bed as you sleep through. And with all of that, you're able to sleep faster, wake up less often during the night, achieve longer deep sleep, and with that, you wake up feeling more well-recovered and more energized.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Pawel Sieczkiewicz. I'm CEO and founder of Telemedi. We are optimizing medical services and patient paths for B2B clients, mostly for the insurance clients. And we are doing this using technology, which is our healthcare platform, where we have integrated a bunch of medical services, telemedicine, physical visits, network of over 2,000 clinics and labs. And we are helping to optimize the cost and increase the patient satisfaction for B2B clients.
Thank you, Pawel. And Benedikt, please.
Yeah, I'm Ben. I'm heading the EMEA business development efforts for Garmin Health. Garmin Health is an ecosystem provider for Garmin. If you know that, we're doing some smartwatches and fitness bands and stuff. So we're facilitating access to that data. So that's one hat that I'm wearing today. And then on the other hand, we as a vertical integrated manufacturer of these products are also a B2C company for the biggest part of our business. So we're trying to bridge the gap for partners to tap into that data, use it, also a lot for wellness and kind of building strategies around consumer health. And on the other hand, we are trying to kind of eat our own dog food, as you want to say, and try to build in as many possible strategies to keep customers engaged with us.
Thank you. And lastly, myself, Rowan Nidd. I'm with a company called PA Consulting. Head offices in London, but we had offices across Europe and the US. And I specialize in bringing new products to market and also, importantly, keeping them on the market. So the reason that this excites me is because although we're focusing on wellness, these strategies apply across the board to all products, be it medical devices and a lot of the startups here, but also to pharma and other industries as well. As we all know, it's an incredibly competitive market. We've seen all the fantastic startups here, and all of them all of them have that challenge of building a brand, getting themselves into the market, having that loyal customer base, and importantly, keeping that customer base. So I'm going to ask the panelists the same question and I'd like to get your different views on that because you all have that different background. Rafa, I'll start with you again. We were chatting earlier. You've had a phenomenal, the last 2 years have been phenomenal for you. So I'd really like just to, in the context of clearly articulating what why your wellness brand exists and, what values it stands for, how important do you feel it is to define that, what your purpose, what your values are, and how does that create a meaningful connection with your customers?
Yeah. I'm interested to hear the different perspectives of the panel on this one, because we come from very different backgrounds, of course. But what I can speak of is from the consumer background, right, which is where we're focused with at 8sleep. And what I would say is that in the last couple of consumer generations, particularly with Generation Z, we've seen a big shift where consumers are valuing every day more, the why of a company as much of the what of a company. And we see many customers choosing sometimes brand A over brand B just because they relate better to where brand A is going. So clearly highlighting where you want to go, or in other words, your purpose, your values, is actually today, for consumer brands, a way to differentiate your brand in a market that is overcrowded with many options. That's what I would start saying.
Thank you. Incredibly insightful. And Pawel, if we move to you next.
So we are in a position that we are working with B2B clients, and we are also working with their individual patients who are the customers of the services that we are delivering to them. So for B2B clients, it's very important for us to run the customer success process that actually is not just about updating what's happening in one or the other company, but actually we are making the discovery workshops to understand how they are scaling us currently with the values that we think we should deliver to them, and what are the the common, it's not elegant word, but buying persona, like actually who's buying the service for you and what value you are providing to him or her. And this is actually what we are trying to update every year to understand if we are doing what we are paid for and what we can do better to be paid for. And at the other level for this such thing we are doing for the end customers, the individuals who are using the service. And for example, in the last year, we have processed more than 1 million medical services through our platform. So in this case, we are using more the questionnaire survey approach to understand what we can improve. After every medical service, patient is being asked how he's satisfied about the service and if this particular medical service has helped him to reach to the goal, or it was just unnecessary, for example.
Thank you, and you're sort of slightly answering my next question as well. If we can, Benedikt, over to you, if you can get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, for us, it's probably, and that's probably also what resonates quite well with what Rafa said, understanding what your product means to customers in their day-to-day life. For us, that's in a lot of kind of the health, wellness, and sports environment. So a person who kind of wants to run a marathon and wants to win that is kind of defining itself through that goal, right? So with that in mind, we are actually able then to understand how this data that is coming from that person can then help partners to kind of build a service around that, so that we are able to kind of help the partners in moving them in the right direction, understanding who they would be associated with when they come to a brand like Garmin. And that's important to understand, right? If you have a product that you want to bring into a B2B2C or a B2B context, understand what does it really mean to the end customer when they use it, because no matter if it's B2B or B2C, in the end there's a human using your product or has to somehow being engaged with this, and the better you do this, the better the outcome is.
Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, that's fascinating. And it was great to get 3 different perspectives, which is the point of this. So moving on to the next then, one of the most important things that we hear is, and we experience, is understanding, what your customers' pain points are, what are their wishes, that sort of thing, So, and I suppose the question is how do you gain that understanding? And then how do you tailor your marketing and your branding to address those pain points and wishes of your customer base? So yeah, we'll start closest to me.
For us, it's It's and on one point it's very easy because our users give us and share a lot of data with us because they trust us in keeping that. So we are able to make that quite personalized to their kind of what they want to achieve, where they are in life right now, and what they want to do with the product and what they want to receive in return. But on the other hand, we are the user trusts us quite bigly in giving us that data, so we have to make absolutely sure that we are kind of keeping it in the right way and doing the personalization in a way that it's paying out for the end user rather than for a third party or someone who might be also very interested in having that data. So that's important for us to keep that in mind, and with that, we can then help partners to understand that better.
So how does that then, so I suppose the question then is, how do you adjust your strategies using that data?
Making it personal. So if you, from the very early on, buy a running watch, you might be a runner and you might want to win a race. Versus someone who's buying a lifestyle device who wants to kind of connect their smart doorbell or something, right? So the goals are very different, and then we have the ability to see what our partners are using most. Is someone more looking into sleep, recovery, wellness topics? So we can focus on that. We can bring him the right partners to also understand this better, versus someone who's just focusing on hardcore athlete stats. So that's something that we have in a bandwidth.
Yeah, so the value of your data is very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And Pawel, we'll move on to you, because you talked earlier about, your surveys and gathering that data, and a little bit about, sort of changing. So how do you change your messaging and some of your sort of engagement based on that feedback?
So with B2B clients, as I said, we are just speaking to them and making together the prototypes. But what's unique, I didn't mention, is that for customers, for the end customers, usually we are white-labeled service under brand of the big insurance company. So we are not making any specific communication to them, because this communication is done by the insurance companies themselves. But what we are doing, we are actually testing the paths. We are making a lot of iterations of how the patient path should look like to achieve the goal that was previously established between us and B2B client, meaning insurance company.
Thank you. And Rafa, over to yourself as well, because again, you have a slightly different model, so it'd be interesting to hear that.
Yeah, and similar to what Ben was saying, we do use the data we have to kind of understand more about our customers. But to answer this question more from a prospection kind of angle, the customers we don't have yet and we don't know about them yet. An anecdote here is that prior to 8 Sleep, I used to work for a major multinational for over 10 years. And when we wanted to understand more about our target group, we would run these very long quantitative researches, hire Nielsen. It would take 1 to 2 years to kind of get the findings. And what I found spectacular from moving to this multinational to 8 Sleep, which is a relatively younger company, is the ability to move way faster and run tests. So I would say that nowadays on a weekly basis, we're running anywhere from 4 to 6 tests to understand which of our creatives work best, which of our audiences resonate better with our product, which sort of imagery text we're using, and then we're always optimizing to ensure that the return of investment of all of our ad spend or marketing spend is kind of bringing more return, basically.
Thank you. And obviously, with the amount of information there is out there, so we talk about empowered users, educated users, people have a lot of choice. So just how much effort and what value do you think there is in educating users about your brand and what you do? And that again can be current users, but as you mentioned, Rafa, earlier, customers that you don't have, which is obviously what, how you grow your business. So yeah, I'll start with you in the middle if you don't mind, Pawel.
So we are in this very unique situation that when our clients are using us as a white label service, actually we don't need to communicate and resonate directly with the individual users. So we don't need to build the brand and invest in the brand that will have a high recognition among the individuals, because for them and for our clients, it's important that they feel that they are in one ecosystem provided by the insurance company, where all of the services and all of the patient paths are already covered, all settlements are covered, etc. We are handling this as an outsourcing operator, but we are doing it in the world of the communication of the insurance company. And our investing in the communication with the insurance companies, of course, is mostly done by the individual relations. There's not a lot of the insurance companies in the specific regions that can cooperate with us, so we are not investing in billboards, to reach them, etc. We are actually building our in-person contacts and relations.
Okay, so you're building it with the insurance companies, not necessarily. Yeah.
Exactly, and thanks to the insurance companies, we are getting into their patients.
Yeah, so a different model then to the other two. So Ben, how does that compare then with what you're doing at Garmin?
Well, it's on one side, sure, we try to be kind of the health companion to our end users. We're trying to be their sports coach and whatnot. But on the other hand, we're also working in a B2B environment where we engage them with insurances, with gym and fitness providers, and everyone who basically wants to tap into the collected data of our users and wants to make something great out of it. And in return, what we get is users that have not just their individual approach, but they also have, for example, the community of their sports club. They have the group of coaches that they can get through the employee health solution that is offered, and so on. So we're trying to extend the use cases of our devices and create stickiness and create communicational waypoints along that line to keep the customer engaged with us beyond kind of the original product and the original service that we offer from our side, but kind of making it broader in scale.
Thank you. And we'll move on to community in the next question. But Rafa, if you can lead us through your journey on that.
Yeah, no, when it comes to customer education, what I would start saying is that when we compare the health and wellness industry with other industries, I would say that we have one of the most challenging jobs. Because usually our products are very complex. There are many metrics, many things to explain, and so on. Most or some of the products skew higher prices. Our potential customers are better educated, and let's face it, the stakes are higher because they're purchasing something that directly impacts their health and their well-being. So it's a challenge job. So I would kind of, the insight I would bring is it needs to be a cross-departmental task. It's not only marketing, it's not only product, it's not only hardware, it's kind of everything combined. And the only thing I would suggest is to outline the full user journey, and I mean both before and after purchase, and understand and discuss at which point which information is given, which is kind of this education journey. So from the moment of awareness of the brand of the product, to consideration, to the purchase trigger, to onboarding, first 7 days, first 30 days, at which point you're introducing each metric in a way that they're not overwhelmed, but they understand the value that you as a brand and product is providing to them.
Thank you. And as mentioned, the next discussion topic is around community, and we're seeing this particularly at PA as well, where and this can be for everything. So if you look at the pharmaceutical industry, which is slightly different, there's a lot of competition. You've got patients with chronic diseases who are forming these communities, Facebook and all the other sort of tools out there, and as well with a lot of the apps and the med tech companies. So what I'd like to touch on a little bit, and you mentioned already, Ben, is building that community. That how do you do that, and how strongly do you feel that sense of community amongst users influences your brand loyalty? So yeah, we'll start at the end. Rafa.
I'll be short, and the short answer is super important, right? What I would say is that word of mouth is, at least in my opinion, by far the most efficient marketing channel, right? As a brand, I can tell a potential customer 100 different things. Nothing beats him or her hearing from their friend or someone they trust about their experience with the product. And that's basically what you get from a community building. Now, there are a few different ways to do that, but the one I'm going to mention is that we also bring our community to help us develop our product, because at the end of the day, they're the ones using on a daily basis. They know where we could go. So we have kind of a set of, let's say, preferred members that they're actively working with our R&D team to see where we could go next as an innovation.
Thank you. And then, Pawel,
Yeah, actually, I also mentioned in the first sentence and the first question that actually we are meeting regularly with our clients, that we took us as some kind of the board of advisors, not only as a client, but also, hey, which path we should follow that will bring you the biggest possible value. What's actually your biggest pain? What's your biggest struggle that we can help to solve you and for your customers to help achieve your KPIs? Yeah.
thank you. And then Ben?
Yeah, probably starting off with a little story. 20 years ago, when Garmin built their first smartwatch, it wasn't a smartwatch back then, it was basically a GPS tracker strapped on a wrist. Someone ran a marathon with that, and the battery died about 2 meters before the finish line. So we went back and said, well, this is not going to happen. And since that, any product of us should have at least a couple of days in battery lifetime. And because the running community back then was so much keen to understand their stats, understand the data that they were generating, we wouldn't have any chance whatsoever if we wouldn't have fixed that glitch, right? So similar to what Rafa said, it's super important to understand and get the feedback from your users and build that into your product iterations, but also building this in a community around your product, right? Understanding what they are trying to achieve and then helping them on the way, rather than trying to tell them how to do it.
Fantastic, thank you. And I think we're on time as well. So questions from the audience, please. Right, either you were all super fantastic or people are a bit quiet. So if there aren't any questions, then we'll use the last 1 minute 40 just to give a bit of advice out. So just on branding and for wellness, but also just branding and keeping your customers engaged. If I could, what would you, if you had 30 seconds to give that advice to someone new, someone starting up, or someone, what would that be? And I'll start closest to me with Ben.
Start with the product, understand the product, understand what you stand for and what you want to be as a company, and then see in which market and which user group this resonates best, and then get the feedback, listen to your users and your customers, and build that into your new iterations. Amazing, thank you.
And I will make a comma, and there's no better way to keep user engaged and being motivated by actually delivering the value. None of the marketing newsletters, etc., will make patient or the client engaged if there will be no value behind, and he or she will get the other opportunity to work with someone else to solve the problem. Product value.
Amazing. So a solid message so far. So Rafa, please.
Another comment. So just adding, the 2 final points is simplify your message. Sometimes we develop a product that we're so proud about and we kind of overwhelm the end user with many information. Focus on one thing. And the final thing is focus on one problem you're trying to solve. Solve it really well before you scale it.
Fantastic. And that's exactly on time. So thank you all to the panelists. Fantastic discussions. And yeah, if there's any questions from anyone in the audience, please grab any of us afterwards. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, panelists. Thank you, Rowan, for moderating the panel. Very interesting discussion.